From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. It's Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Not forget the Junior. Very important, remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, share, rate, review. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification. But when we drop that, fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Hope you're enjoying all the content on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network because we keep putting it out a lot over this Saints training camp. It's Sunday. Hope your weekend's going well. I've been working, but it's been good work. It's been fun work. I've been out at Saints camp all weekend. Today was a marathon. Call it the closest thing to a quote-unquote slugfest for training camp in 2025 as you can get to because old Kellen Moore kind of slow played us a little bit and then wham, 2.5 hours today, 126 play scrimmage. Let me repeat that, 126 plays. They got a lot of football in today. We're going to talk all about it on today's podcast. But first things first, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, especially after seeing today's practice and how it went, watching back a lot of the clips. It felt like football. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the 7-on-7 stuff. It felt like real live football. And we're starting to approach some real live black and gold football in the next few days. But first, we got to dive into this camp because, like you mentioned, 126 plays, a very heavy passing attack. Yeah. Kellen talked about how many of those were passing plays. And you can't talk about the passing plays without talking about the guys throwing them. And today, one guy stood out. Rookie quarterback, Tyler Shough. Over the last few days, people have been a bit hard on him because he was having some rookie struggles, but it seems like he's really starting to break out of that shell, and today he had his best day of camp.
Yeah, I think today we can objectively say Tyler Shough outplayed Spencer Rattler on the field. Rattler ran with the first team early. Tyler Shough ran with the second team early, and they kept kind of mixing and matching all day. So let me just start with this. I was a little let's go back to Thursday's practice. One day they went indoors. The title of our podcast is Tyler Shough settling in. I was a little surprised just kind of scanning some of the other reactions to that day by Tyler Shough from some other people because they kept saying how much he struggled. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, there was some struggles, but it was good struggles. It was the kind of struggles that you wanted to see because it meant like it was all about the football and the evaluation. Because I really felt like that was the first day he looked like he was truly settling in and perhaps turned a corner with the speed of the game, the speed of the defense, doing away with the hesitancy and starting being more decisive and starting to show more and more a little bit of the arm talent that that was one of the biggest reasons why the Saints were able, to draft him or took him in the second round. And we asked that day, is this the start of crossing the threshold out of, look, the first 4 practices at camp, you almost got to throw it away because there's nothing to evaluate. He's not doing anything. That's how hesitant he was, and that's how indecisive he was, and that's how really just you couldn't even start anything with a competition because they weren't on equal playing field in terms of what you're able to evaluate on the football field. But these last couple of practices and Saturday's work was pretty low key. It was a much more slower pace by design. They were doing some stuff that really didn't lend itself to an exciting day for the quarterbacks. But today was their most work to date, their most intense practice to date, their closest thing to a game-like setting with the scrimmage, and I thought Tyler Shough had his best day. It was not a perfect day, but it was his best day, and it was better than Spencer Rattler, who I'll get to him in a second, but if you just fairly watch what you saw, I just thought for the first time all camp we could say Shough outplayed Rattler. The previous 8 or 9 practices, you give the nod to Rattler. But right for Sunday's action, you got to give the nod to Shough. He opened things up with his best period of camp by far. He took over, I think they were at the 30-yard line, and he methodically moved them down 8 for 8, touchdown pass to Michael Jacobson. What we did not know at the time was that was the only touchdown the offense would score all day. Came close a couple times, but that was the only touchdown they would score all day. From there, He had a couple of drives later. He had a string of 7 straight completions, had an intentional grounding penalty, and threw a ball deep in the end zone on a cover 0 that luckily didn't get picked off. It was picked off, but it was out of bounds by Quincy Riley. Led him to a field goal. Later in practice after that, he let him down. Should have been a touchdown pass to Seth Green. Looked initially like he dropped it. Then when I went back and rewatched the video, in fact, I posted it on my Twitter page, Sanker might have gotten like the ring finger on the back point of the ball to just graze it enough, but it probably still should have been caught. But it was still a nice drive where they moved the ball effectively. Today, he stayed short and intermediate and really worked from the numbers to the sideline. What do we say about him? Where does he live? Where does he live? He lives numbers to the sideline. But it was effective today, and it was all unscripted. So they're getting the plays for the first time. They don't know what's coming. Kellen Moore was kind of in the zone as a play caller. So there were a lot of things about today that I think Tyler Shough excelled at, but also a lot of things you have to work on because, he was picked off today. And it was, if you go back and watch his college tape, it was one of his highlight plays from his college tape where he's rolling to his left and he kind of does this sidearm throw back in the end zone. It's a beautiful play. I think it might have been the Notre Dame game. I don't remember exactly. And he finds the receiver back at the end zone through like a sea of hands. He tried to do it again. It was a good learning moment for him because they're inside the 10-yard line. He's rolling to his left. Shahid's wide open. All he's got to do is just kind of loft it over. He tried to zing it. Nephi Sewell closed that gap, closed that window really fast, and was an INT. It just goes to show you can't get away with some of the stuff in college that you did in the pro. It's a good learning sort of thing for him. So I think it was a good learning mistake. It was a good learning lesson, if you will, for Tyler Shough. Bottom line, when you watch Tyler Shough today, he looked like a guy that has caught up from the evaluation standpoint, that has maybe caught up from, okay, first couple of practices, I got these 2 quarterbacks right here that understand the speed of the game and they're trying to get better at football. And on this column right here, I got a guy that's not ready to play football because he's not understanding the speed of the game. Well, now you're seeing a guy that looks like he maybe has crossed the line into, okay, now he gets to the speed of the game, and now we can evaluate the same things. Now we can evaluate football. Was that an accurate pass? Was that the right pass? Was that a good decision? Was that a bad decision? Instead of no decision, hesitancy, he doesn't really know what he's doing. Is that enough to close the gap between he and Spencer Rattler? The best thing about it is it'll be settled on the football field from now on. Yep. From now on, it'll be settled on the football field to where now maybe you have a competition. I still think Spencer Rattler is in the lead. It's not set in stone. I don't think it's a guaranteed foregone conclusion right now. I don't know how they're viewing the first 4 practices, like he was so far behind he can't catch up, or do they view it, okay, maybe now the competition begins because he's kind of up to speed. Who knows? But I do know this. Tyler Shough had a decent day today. His best day. Was not a perfect day. I wouldn't even call it a great day, but it was his best day, and he helped himself in the competition. We'll see where it stands. Still a long way to go, but at least, look, if you're a Saints fan or a Saints coach, you've got a lot invested in this guy. You want to see moments like this, and I think today he brought him those moments.
Welcome to the quarterback competition, Tyler Shough, because, you touched on it. The first week, it was more Rattler and Haener, and Shough was kind of the third wheel from a sense of performance. But now, lately he's really starting to come on. He's starting to come into his own. And on Thursday's pod, I emphasized how important this time is for Tyler Shough. And I don't want to get too far into it, but it's important because it's not like he was a first-round draft pick. You look at a guy like Jaden Daniels. He's going to be the starter for the Commanders for at least the next 5 years, probably more. Caleb Williams, 5 years, probably more, even if he stinks it up his rookie year. Bryce Young did stink it up his rookie year. He's still the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers because that's the investment that those 3 teams put into those quarterbacks, drafting them at the top of the first round. Tyler Shough was drafted in the 2nd round. You're not beholden to Tyler Shough for the next 5 years. Spencer Rattler, drafted in the 5th round. You're not beholden to him for even the next 5 months if you don't want to be. Both of these guys have to step up and perform now, and I understand Tyler Shough is a rookie, and it's not necessarily fair to expect him to make such a big step so quick, but that's the reality he finds himself in, because should the Saints be in a position to draft a quarterback next year, and should they look at the battle this year and look at these guys' performance and say, I don't think either of these quarterbacks are our starter for the next 5-10 years, then most of them might be going to the back of that line. So it's important for Tyler Shough to, have days like this and start to put them together. And I don't think he's out of this competition. Sure, he's didn't do enough in one day to overcome a week
Right.
of what Spencer Rattler did. But the beautiful thing is, it's early August. You still got 3 more preseason games to go. They go to California later this week. If you go to California and Shough continues this momentum, if you go to California to play the Chargers on Sunday and Shough outperforms Rattler and Haener, then all of a sudden, just like we were talking about Rattler a lot in week 1, Tyler Shough can completely turn this narrative like a 180 all the way around, and all of a sudden we could say Tyler Shough's in the league because it took him a while to get settled as a rookie, but now he's really starting to stack those days up. So I hope that today for Shough wasn't an anomaly. It's the beginning of something better.
Yeah, and look, we said in the last pod, and you're starting to see a little bit kind of out there now, kind of with it. Where are you supposed to be in an evaluation for a rookie quarterback 8 practices in at that point? That's when we were talking about. And 2 or 3 of those practices, he was with the third team on that walkthrough, he didn't do anything. So it was like, okay, it almost felt like maybe 5 practices. And like I said before, are we getting ahead of ourselves in the evaluation? Is this fairly normal? Well, fair or unfair, he's got to get to where he needs to be if he wants to start this year. And it feels like this may have been the day, or this I thought Thursday was the day, but it feels like he's continued a little bit of that momentum into a day like today where I felt like he took some steps forward. He was not, like I said, he wasn't perfect. He took a bad intentional grounding penalty. The interception was bad. He didn't see a nickel pressure from Ugo Amade and got sacked. But I thought he made some really good decisions with his legs, RPO stuff, zone read stuff, but also scrambling stuff where, the receiver's covered, but in a game-like situation, if you're in that's the right decision. And he's got really good straight line speed. He's not going to do the stop at a dime and cut and all that stuff, but he's got some really good long stride straight line speed that I think is obviously going to be used if and when he gets on the football field. So I thought he did some good things, some quality things, and I do think if you're kind of scoring it, it's probably 9 practices rather now, 1 for Tyler Shough. In Rattler's case, because I want to make sure I present the full picture, he started today pretty solid. First team, 1 offense versus 1 defense, looked pretty solid, went 5 for 8, misfired on his last pass, a little bit of I think he threw kind of a deep corner route, a little overthrown, got him in the field goal range, got the field goal. Then Tyler Shough came back and hit the 8 for 8, led him to a touchdown. And it didn't feel like Rattler was ever on target or kind of on rhythm the rest of the day. He had a few sporadic nice plays throughout the day, but he never really let him down to scoring position the rest of the day. He got picked off by Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm forgetting who the actual receiver was. It might have been Kevin Austin. I had to go back and check. But Kool-Aid jumps the route. He just never quite looked sharp. There was a couple plays where he wasn't on the same page. There were a couple plays where the throw was in the dirt. There was a throw to Mason Tipton where he throws the back shoulder. Tipton's going deep. And as I watched the play over, I was like, ooh, man, I think that might have been on Rattler because it looked like Tipton had the corner beat. And, you got to read the leverage there, and he threw it behind, thinking he was going to stop and go back and get it. Instead, the read might have been to throw it deep there. That happens in training camp. But I just felt like today he just wasn't quite on. He got sacked a couple times as well. So now he's got to respond. Now he's got to take, okay, I didn't have my best day today. Now I got to respond on Tuesday. I got this rookie who they drafted, who's older than me, yes, but I got more experience. Now now he's in the competition now. So we'll see how Rattler responds. We've now seen how Shough responds. Yes, this is what we want. This is a quarterback competition. That's what makes a quarterback competition great. Make it so difficult on the coaches that they think they can't go wrong with either one, whatever the case may be, but each player has to get better. And if they're competing against each other like this, they will get better. Which leads me to this. Haener had a nice day today, okay? He had some nice completions. He didn't get as many reps, but he did get a significant amount of reps, but not as much as the other 2 guys. And he did have some nice throws. But if you're seeing the growth of Shough now, is it time to go rotate between Shough and Rattler and maybe keep Haener as the 3? I think that's a conversation that probably has to be had right now amongst the coaching staff.
I would say it's about that time, unless if you're Kellen Moore, nobody's inside Kellen Moore's mind. Unless he looks at Jake Haener and legitimately sees a starter, I think you got to go 2. And it's very telling because you and Juan Kincaid, we've been showing some of the clips, in our last few podcasts. Y'all do a training camp show. And every single guy you talk to, outside of the quarterbacks themselves, when they talk about the quarterback competition, if you listen to the way they talk and the words they use,
Talk to them.
those 2.
Yep.
These 2 guys, those 2. it doesn't seem like it's being presented team-wide that this is a three-man competition, and it doesn't seem like the teammates, the guys who are a part of it, see this as a three-man competition. Most of these guys are looking at it how you and I are looking at it, how a lot of the people watching this podcast are looking at it, as Rattler versus Shough. So as we go on with the preseason, I think, I talked about the preseason games. I think in the preseason games, those guys will each get pretty equal time. But I think after that first preseason game, it does kind of tighten up, and it's going to be, Rattler versus Shough, especially if Shough can keep this momentum going and show that he's what for what in this duel with Rattler.
See, I'm not sure the order now because things got screwed up today, because today would have been Hayner's day with the ones. I'm not sure if the order gets kind of reorganized now. But to me, you've seen enough after the last couple of practices from Shough. He can't go every third day with minimal reps. Like it's been the first 8 practices where basically 3 of the practices he basically got no work or very minimal work. He's feeling it right now. Let the rookie stay in the zone a little bit, and hopefully, build himself up to where, it's a legitimate competition between he and Spencer Rattler. And I think every third day, him kind of falling out of favor with the rep count, to me, is not a good sign, or it would not be the prudent thing to do. So very curious to see. They've only got one more practice before they go to LA. So we'll see how the rep distribution gets counted there. But all in all, look, it was a good day for Shough, and I want to see how Rattler responds now. I mean, look, he's been the guy the first 9 practices. Practice 10, it goes to Shough. Now it's time for Rattler to battle back, and I want to see how he does, because that's a confident dude. Rattler is a confident dude. They're all confident. Shough, Hayner is a very confident dude. I want to see how Rattler responds now after his biggest competition kind of outshining him for a day.
Yeah, and when you're passing the ball, you talk about the quarterbacks, and that's what we've done so far. But through the Saints passing the ball so much, not just today, but over the last few days of training camp, some guys on the defensive side of the ball have been starting to shine, particularly 3 rookies. Jonas Sanker, the safety, the linebacker, Danny Stutzman, and then also the cornerback, Quincy Riley. When you look at those guys, do you see those guys maybe having a bit of more of an impact in their rookie year than maybe we thought they would?
I wanted to go here in today's pod because now it's happened too many times to where, sometimes early in practice, a young guy doesn't know what he's doing. He kind of, especially on defense, he run himself into a pass breakup, or you run himself into a tackle, you run himself into a sack. Excuse me, but they don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of running around. Excuse me. But this has happened too much. So I wanted to go in because one thing that's given the big picture of the quarterback competition, some of the sub-stories have kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit, and it's probably on me and on us to bring those stories back. I wanted to get to this today because I'm starting to really like this draft class. Tyler Shough's in the mix for the quarterback competition. We've talked about him more than any other player, probably. He and Spencer Rattler throughout the entire training camp. But there are other rookies doing really well from this draft class. Kelvin Banks Jr. has not missed a snap at left tackle as a starter. Rookie. He's like 21 years old or 22 years old. That's a positive thing. And you mentioned the guys. Jonas Sanker. Is it Jonas or Jonas?
I've been saying Jonas. Probably.
Because the teammates have said Jonas, but he said Jonas. I don't know. Regardless, he's playing. He's playing well. But the 2 that have really stood out to me, it's Quincy Riley. They're 2 fourth-round picks. Quincy Riley and Danny Stutzman, the linebacker. Quincy Riley got nearly picked off Tyler Shough today. In fact, had he been a little more aware where the back line was, maybe he would have got that second foot down and got himself his 3rd interception. There was another play. He jumps a route, a short route. I'm not sure if it was Shough or Rattler who threw it. It might have been Shough. Stepped in front, knocked the pass down, intended for Kevin Austin. That's not by accident that a rookie's always around the ball. That's not by accident that when the ball comes his way, his hands seem to be on it. And those are game-changing plays. He's only been running with the 2s. He hasn't run with the 1s much. But it's going to be hard to keep that rookie off the field because that kid knows where the ball's at, and he's not getting fooled. He's not getting tricked. He is in the right spot at the right time. Speaking of being in the right spot at the right time, Danny Stutzman is everywhere.
Yeah.
Danny Stutzman is everywhere, both against the run and the pass. It's his natural instincts. He knows where the ball is, but the natural instincts allows him to be in the right spot time and time again. Do you know how many times I have watched rookies head spinning rookie training camp because they just don't know where the ball is at because it's their first time seeing anything? if you didn't know any better and you watched Danny Stutzman, you'd never know he was a rookie. I mean, that's how much he's in the right spot. He had a pass breakup today, near interception. He had a run stuff today. I'm not sure how much he's been blitzing, but from pass coverage standpoint for a rookie and stopping the run, it's going to be hard to keep him up the field as well. Right now it's obviously Werner and DeMario Davis, but when you have another player like that and you run kind of this multiple, elaborate 3-4 scheme, but there's a lot of different ways you can mix and match it, I think it's going to be hard to keep Danny Stutzman up the field as well. So I wanted to give some love to them because, honestly, we've been talking so much about the quarterback competition and Kellen Moore's camp and all this stuff. These rookies are starting to play, and I think that's a positive sign from the staff, from the scouting department, Jeff Ireland and those guys, because that draft class is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks, is good to see it out of Kelvin Banks because I know some people, including me, questioned the pick, in the first round, and to see him come out. I mean, Will Campbell, a guy drafted 4th overall to New England, a lot of reports out of camp is that he's struggling with NFL pass rushes. Kelvin Banks has not had those struggles here in New Orleans. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball, and I think those three are in great positions because those are 3 positions that need a lot of help. Mm-hmm. You look at safety, especially after the retirement of Tyrann Mathieu, there's not a lot of depth at safety.
Yeah.
I mean, former head coach Dennis Allen at one point last summer was begging somebody to step up and play that position, and you sign Justin Reed, you sign Julian Blackmon, but if an injury happens to one of those, do we have a definitive next guy up right now?
Right.
Is it Jordan Howden? I think that realistically, Jonas Sanker can beat out Jordan Howden, if he continues along this track. You look at Danny Stutzman, and I think of a few other names. I think of DeMarco Jackson, somebody who, despite not being a starter the last few years, has consistently gotten playing time, whether it's because DeMario was hurt or P. Werner was hurt. DeMarco Jackson has consistently played, in spurts, but he hasn't made a big impact. Anthony Orji, another guy whose name popped up throughout last year with the injuries. Caden Ellis, a guy who a few years ago had a bit of a breakout season and wound up getting a contract with Atlanta. There's room in this linebacker room for somebody like Danny Stutzman who's all over the field. And I remember, every time we talk about P. Werner, we say we keep waiting for him to take that next leap, to be able to do something similar to what DeMario can do, because I think there's nobody else on this team that can do anything close to what he can. So having a young guy like Danny Stutzman, starting to learn under somebody like that, I think we could see him get some early playing time. And the number one guy in line for early playing time is Quincy Riley, because he could legitimately start day one if he continues to ball out in training camp and has a good preseason. Because right now, when you look at the corners, you got Alante Taylor, who we're expecting to be the nickelback in the slot. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, who might be having the best training camp of all the players on defense right now.
Ooh, he's having a camp.
He is. Kellen Moore, very complimentary of Kool-Aid McKinstry. But then that third corner, if Alante's in the slot, Kool-Aid's on one side, who's on the other side? Isaac Yiadom has been working that through training camp, but Quincy Riley, if he continues to find his way to the football, when week 1 against Arizona comes, maybe it's the rookie out there, at corner. So it's good to see those 3 young guys starting to show out at 3 positions where the Saints need depth and need playmakers.
And I just think it's a good sign from the front office. I mean, you scout these guys. Again, it's very early. It's practice, and it is what it is. So, and look, I've seen many a training camp hero. I've seen many of all-Metairie teams, as we used to call it, the Kings of June, But all you can do is when you get on a field is make plays, because that's the next opportunity that you have. And those guys have consistently made plays. And you throw in the mix now a quarterback who's in the mix to start. I mean, you're starting to see some guy. And Vernon Broughton is another guy that's kind of gotten in the mix, that rotation up front. Doesn't stand out as much because he's playing kind of the big ugly position up in the middle, up in the front. So it's not always hard for him to stand out. But he's still in that rotation. So I think it's certainly a good sign. It's a long way to go. But I've seen, I remember Robert Meacham's first rookie training camp. He was lost. I can name plenty of rookies that just, no matter how high they were drafted, that first training camp, that the first introduction to an NFL playbook and NFL speed and NFL responsibilities, they were swimming for months. And to see these guys catching on so quickly, I think it's good. And to see the coaches kind of gravitate to them, giving these guys opportunities, I think is good as well. So I think all in all, it's been a good day. And we got a couple more minutes left, so I'll kind of circle back and end with this. I continue to be impressed with the approach, the flow, and just the overall style of training camp under Kellen Moore. You know, we went slow, then they added where you're getting a lot in a short period of time. Then all of a sudden today, it's a lot in a lot of period of time. It's a big period of time. It was 2.5 hours, 126 plays. And it was so much to grade off of that tape. It was a scrimmage. I'm not sure why the Saints haven't done scrimmages in years past. I remember the black and gold scrimmage back in the day. That stopped existing after like 2009. So all in all, I've been so thoroughly impressed with the way Kellen Moore has approached this training camp. We won't understand sort of the fruits of their labor until back into the season, if they're fresh and if they're, you know, up to speed quicker or whatever the case may be. But it's such a different approach. He feels so calculated, so intentional. There's just nothing wasted. So I continue to say, job well done, Kellen Moore.
Absolutely. And I mean, I remember early in the training camp when we were talking about, man, they're practicing for 45 minutes.
Yeah, quick.
They're practicing for 50 minutes, you know, but they were managing to get a lot of work in during that time. So just seeing the natural development of it, to ironically playing essentially a game on Sunday today, you know, it's everything, like you said, is very intentional for Kellen Moore. And he talked about it when y'all talked to him on the training camp show, just about, you know, the science behind it and the methodology behind it. And, you know, he's a young head coach. He's not necessarily stuck on the thought that maybe some older coaches would be of like, nah, we're out here in the heat for 3 hours every day and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. No, Kellen Moore, you know, sometimes you got to work smarter than harder. But other times, like today, you can do both, you know, and it's worked out for him. And after a day like this, the Saints are off tomorrow. So, you know, it makes sense. And then after that, they practice Tuesday and they're off to LA, where a lot of people will have a lot to prove.
We'll see. It should be fun in LA. I'll be out there. So, all right, that's it for us. We got to get out of here. For Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.